Good evening, folks, and a very, very warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining us here on the Geelong Region Soccer Show podcast, the only media in Geelong promoting your sport, publicising your sport, and bringing you up to date with all the news and views of our wonderful game. My name's Tonchi Prusak. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you here tonight. It's episode 9 for 2026. And in total, 185 episodes. We're edging ever so close to that milestone 200 episode achievement, which I'm sure we will achieve later this year. We do need your support. We are still seeking a major sponsor, and a big, big thank you to all of our business advertising sponsors. Most notably, tonight's advertising sponsors, Curva Coaching, Geelong, EcoDuct, and J Hill Books. All three have been big supporters of this show in past years as well. And so we do need either a major sponsor, we need business advertising sponsors. For as little as $100 an episode, you can get your business promoted on the Geelong Region Soccer Show. Folks, tonight we've got a huge show. We're going to be catching up with the Surf Coast Football Club's senior men's team coaching team, the interim coach Tom Langman, and the newly appointed coach Ivan Biscan. They were 2-0 winners over Ivan Biscan's old team, Corio Soccer Club, last Friday night at Hume Reserve in what was an action-packed Men's State League 2 local derby. And we'll be hearing from them a little bit later on in the show. Our special guest for tonight is an interesting one. Bronwyn Coate is a soccer mum, a local soccer mum, but she's also a researcher at RMIT University. In fact, she's an associate professor, and she was the head of a team that conducted a study into adolescent girls and their participation in soccer and the impact on them, on their well-being by being involved with the club. We'll talk to Bronwyn a little bit later on in the show. We'll also talk about a very, very relevant topic that was, I guess, we need to keep it relevant because of certainly the fact that this year is an election year. We need to stitch up those politicians to not only promise but deliver on their promise of funding a regional facility. There was a report in the Geelong Advertiser over the weekend going on about that, quoting Eddie Contel, local councillor, who has been a big advocate for the push for a regional facility here in Geelong. We'll be talking about that a little bit later on in the show as well. Now, speaking of our sponsors, here's a word from one of our sponsors, and then after that, it's straight into the news desk, folks.
The world is yours. So work hard, and you can have whatever it is you want.
And it's time for tonight's news desk. So let's get straight into it. Lots of action over the weekend in the local game, in the world game locally. In Victorian Premier League Women, Round 8, Geelong Galaxy defeated Manningham United 1-0, and it was a lone goal by Anne Sugamore in the 31st minute. In fact, it was a penalty that gave the local girls all 3 points. That lifts them up to 5th spot on the ladder, up from 6th position last week. This weekend, on paper, an easy game against the Bayside Argonauts, who are in 10th position, in fact. They coming up against the 5th place Geelong Galaxy. Now, that game on Sunday at Shipston Reserve, kicking off at 3 p.m. Galaxy doing very, very well this season. Just a few points off the promotion zone. Round 11 in the Victorian Premier League men's competition, VPL 1 division, saw the North Geelong Warriors also defeat Brunswick City by a solitary goal. This goal was scored by Cassian Engel in the 28th minute. And North Geelong Warriors are doing very, very well at the moment. They're sort of mid-table. They've won more games than they've drawn. 6 games won, 5 games lost, and they maintain a mid-table position at the moment. On Sunday, they come up against the financially stricken, financially embattled Western United, which has been reported in media that they are once again the subject of some legal action to do with their finances. Not a good sign. There's quite a few Geelong youngsters and boys playing up at Western United in the academy side, so we're going to certainly be watching that with great interest. But in the meantime, this Sunday, May 10th, Western United are hosting North Geelong Warriors at the Ironbark Fields. Kickoff there is 2 p.m. And at the moment, as we can see, North Geelong in 7th position in a very, very competitive VPL 1 competition. Western United have got a very, very young side. They're in the 11th spot. No doubt there will be a lot of youngsters taking the field on Sunday against our Warriors. In men's State League 1 competition, Geelong defeated Western Suburbs 2-0. Matthew Coate scoring another goal in consecutive weeks. Ross Irving scoring the Lions' second goal. Geelong maintains their top spot with 5 wins and 1 loss from their opening 6 rounds. In State League 2, as we mentioned earlier, Corio lost to Surf Coast 2-0 in front of a big crowd at Hume Reserve. It was great to see. Lots and lots of people were there on hand from different clubs. The weather was fantastic. And after a scoreless opening half, Arthur Leray, former Corio footballer, the French import, he scored both goals for Surf Coast. It was 0-2. We also, after the game, I managed to catch up with the interim coach of Surf Coast, Tom Langman, and then immediately after that caught up with the newly appointed coach of Surf Coast, former Corio coach and former Geelong coach, Ivan Biscan. Well, a very happy coach, interim coach, I guess, of the Surf Coast Football Club, 2-0 winners over Corio, Tom Langman. Tom, first of all, congratulations, mate. How'd you see that?
I think the boys, we've had a tough couple of weeks, but the last 2 weeks especially, 2 local Geelong derbies, they've come out and they've wanted to play their football, and they've done that tonight. I think first half was a bit of an arm wrestle, but second half, I think they really stepped it up and can't fault the performance at all, everywhere across the park.
Yeah, Arthur scoring 2 goals against his old side. He must have been really pumped, I suppose, like coming back against here at the old ground. But big crowd, fantastic conditions. I think the entire team seemed to be very, very pumped.
No, great day for football today. But no, Arthur, I think this one meant a bit more to him being his old club.
Yep.
You saw the first half, he probably didn't have as bigger impact as he has done in other games, but second half he kind of came into his own. It's 2 big goals and a big derby day.
Now, Surf Coast seems to be adapting very, very well to the rigours and the physicalities of State 2 football. It's been kind of a bit of an up and down sort of season so far, but it's still early days yet. But overall impressions of State 2 compared to, say, last year in State 3?
Yeah, it's a step up. I guess the step up's probably not as big as we might have thought it would be. I think we've shown now in the first 5-6 games now we can compete at this level. We've kept a lot of the squad from last year, but a lot of the credit goes to the players themselves. We've got a big squad, but there's a lot of competition, but there's a great culture amongst the boys. And you can see for 90 minutes out there, they work for each other.
Yeah. Now, how are the players adapted to like the change of coaches? We've obviously had a couple of coaches leave, an interim coach, and we'll talk about the soon newly appointed coach in a sec. But how are they coping with all the changes so early in the season?
I can't fault the players. Again, They've responded fantastically these last 2 weeks. And even this week with Ivan coming into training, they've warmed to him, listening, they're receptive, they're taking on the feedback we're getting. We're really looking forward to the next part of this season with Ivan in charge.
Yes, you mentioned Ivan Biscan, and we'll hear from him just shortly. But it must be a real big boost for the club to have a coach, a calibre of Ivan, who has coached the State 1 level, who's coached the VPL 2 level, I guess. His experience and his knowledge, I think, is going to become really, really important to the Coasters for the rest of this season.
Yeah, we've only heard good things about Ivan. Billy and Arthur both played under him last year.
Yes.
Corio, he's good friends with Rob Panetta, who's one of our football coordinators. We're really looking forward to what he can bring with his experience and kind of really take this squad to the next level.
Yeah, and you're a club man, a real club man. You're a playing legend. You're a club coaching legend as well. You staying on in some form of capacity?
Hopefully, you're just stepping back to a senior coordinator role, but support where needed. So, yeah, it's just good to be involved. It's a great feeling amongst the club. 2 promotions in 2 years, and we just want to push as hard as we can this year.
Yeah, and finally, mate, I guess look, if we go by ladder positions with the senior men's, overtaking Corio, overtaking Rangers into that third spot or the third biggest club in the region. But I guess if you look at the senior women's doing very well at community level, the CPL with the girls, and then on top of that, 1,000+ players overall, it must be a very, very exciting place to be down at Banyule Warrior Reserve.
It's a big club, and like the growth we've seen over the last 5 or 6 years is phenomenal. We've got a fantastic mini roos program with Curva. It's a partner club with Curva. The club seems to be going strength to strength. We've got the Metro boys this year, which is our advanced boys program, our CPL girls. It's just we're trying to grow on all fronts and not just focus on one area in particular. And we seem to be doing it. It's tough. There's a lot of players for not too many pitches, but I think it's credit to everyone across the club in making it work.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got the newly appointed coach at Surf Coast FC, Ivan Biscan. Ivan, well, first of all, congratulations on watching your new team win today. How did you see today's game?
Oh, it was awesome. It was quite even the first half, and obviously the slight changes at half time. I believe we had full control of that second half, so a deserved win, and off and flying onto next week.
Yeah, and as speaking of next week, so this week you officially take charge of the team. You've had a really, really good interim transitionary team. Rob Panetta, Tom Langman, doing very, very well. Steve Christou, got to throw his name in as well.
Yes, of course.
Well, what are your intentions as far as implementing your own style, or just continuing, the winning ways, or what's your kind of philosophy?
Obviously, there's not much that needs to be changed. The boys are dedicated. They're dedicated not only to the team but to the club, and to get that unity. You've done all the hard work in the background, so they're driven to finish as high as possible, and you never know what success will come this year. So,
do you feel the pressure? I mean, two seasons, 2 promotions. The club is so ambitious; they really, really want to go far. Is the pressure on to make it 3 in a row?
I don't look at it as pressure. I think I've said to the playing group, I said first challenge is to finish above Corio and Geelong Rangers, which will give us the so-called third best team in the Geelong region from a pecking order, and that'll be an awesome accomplishment for the Coasters. So, but like I said, we'll dream big, and maybe we'll do our best to push to State 1.
And Hume Reserve, the old stomping ground, was it a bit weird coming back to the old haunt?
That was the biggest call to keep just the current momentum going and not let my emotions or other emotions into it. Great to see Arthur get 2 goals against his old team, a player I got across last year to Corio. So memories he won't forget, and it's awesome.
Well, mate, blue and gold certainly looks good on you. Wishing you all the best for the season ahead and to Surf Coast as well.
Yeah.
Now, we did approach the Corio coach and a couple of Corio officials as well, and they weren't very much interested in speaking to us, unfortunately. In their behalf, in their defence, Corio did have a very, very, off-field traumatic time last week off the field with some adverse media. But it just baffles me these days that, in our sport here in Geelong, there are clubs that just want the publicity, yet everyone complains when there's not enough media coverage. But anyway, we're not going to focus too much on the negatives. Having said that, this is an opportune time to just say, folks, do you really want a podcast such as this? It's up to the clubs themselves. We've only had about 4 clubs this year support us, and I'll name them. Surf Coast, and it shows. It really does show. Geelong Galaxy, one of the first clubs to support us. Bell Park Sports Club, Rose Puritina, who's a big, big person behind the scenes, pushing it, doesn't ask any questions, supports us year in, year out. North Geelong Warriors also, through their business Osline Sports Marketing, have also supported us as well as their president and vice president, their personal business Eco Duct as well, which is a business advertising sponsor of ours today. That's it. That's the limit of support. So you as individuals, folks, you guys can help as well. You don't have to be part of a club. You don't have to be part of a business. And right down the bottom, you can sign up for as little as $5 a month. What is that? To become a member of the Geelong Region Soccer Show. It's basically a donation. You don't really get much anything in return except for the fact that you are supporting the operational costs of this podcast. And it's there, www.patreon.com/Geelong Region Soccer Show. There's a small band of very, very loyal followers, members. I thank them, each and every one of them, for their support and their ongoing support. But it ultimately comes down to, where do we want to see our sport go? Do we want to publicise the good things that are happening? Or do we want to just stay in our little enclaves, in our little micro communities, and then complain that we don't get enough publicity? We saw what happened last week in the Geelong Advertiser. We made the back page, we made the front page, but for all the wrong reasons, unfortunately. Okay, enough of that rant over. Let's go back to the men's state league competitions, the divisions, round 6. In State League 2, Williamstown drew with Geelong Rangers 1-1. Edward Leishman scoring Rangers' only goal. Bell Park continued their winning ways, and they're right up the top, looking very, very good in State League 4. 2-0 win. It was an own goal and a Nicholas Musso penalty as well. Over the page, we go to we also go to the we've lost the unfortunately, seems to me we've lost the State 5 and State 6 results. So if we have a quick look at that as well, I don't have the actual graphic for that, but nonetheless, we'll go through the results that we do have. And we've got Deakin Ducks defeated Newport Storm drew 2-2. They defeated Newport Storm 2-0. Matthew Humphreys and Luke Dale scoring for the Ducks. Lara United lost to Heidelberg Stars 2-0. In State League 6, West Point lost to Barwon Soccer Club. A Finn Murphy goal. He's becoming a prolific goal scorer. Finn Murphy there. He scored for Barwon. They won 1-0 over West Point. And Ocean Grove lost to Truganina Hornets 2-3. David Favetta and Patrick Scusa scoring those goals. So if we now look at the fixtures for round 7 this coming weekend, Geelong in top spot take on Sydenham Park, who are 9th. And that game at Winslow Stadium on Saturday night, kicking off at 6 p.m. Massive game, massive crowd expected. It is the Macedonian Derby, so you can certainly expect there's going to be a phenomenal atmosphere at Winslow Stadium this Saturday night. So get yourself down there if your team's not in action, or if your team has finished by that stage. Another big local derby, or another big crowd expected in that. Speaking of local derbies, earlier in the day, Up at Myers Reserve, Geelong Rangers hosting Corio. It's a game between two strugglers, so it's a must-win game for both these teams. Rangers currently in 10th position, Corio in 12th position, bottom of the ladder. To suffice to say, this is a must-win game for both those teams. Surf Coast taking on Brimbank Stallions at Banyul Warrior Reserve. I believe it's a 5 p.m. kickoff, not a 3 p.m. kickoff. Surf Coast sitting pretty in third position, but they need a win to maintain their attack or their assault on those promotion spots. And what an achievement that would be if they were to secure promotion this year. I know it's still early days yet, but if they were to somehow secure promotion into State League One, it would be certainly unheard of. Three promotions in 3 years. Standing in their way this weekend are the Brimbank Stallions, who are currently in 9th position, a former State League One side. In State 4, Bell Park, who are in 3rd, travel to 4th place Laverton FC. A huge game, a big game this one at HD Graham Reserve. Great facilities down there. And they come up against our Bell Park, who will be certainly keen to keep their winning record happening. In State League 5, Deakin Ducks, who are in 2nd and looking very, very good. They host 10th place Thornbury Athletic at their Warm Ponds campus. Kickoff there is 3 p.m. Lara United make the long trip up to Bendigo, where they will take on 5th place Bendigo City. Game at Epsom Huntley Recreational Reserve, kicking off at 3 p.m. In State 6, Ocean Grove are away to 11th place Glenroy Lions at Wallace Reserve, and Barwon hosting 4th place Moreland Eagles at Grovedale Reserve at 5:15 p.m. An important game. A win here will see Barwon jump over the Eagles and start to look really, really good and have one eye on that promotion spot. As I said, still early days. I mean, we've only played 6 rounds or thereabouts, whatever. So there's still plenty of football left in Men's State League One this season. Well, the Women's State League One has just kicked off last week. But this week, North Geelong Warriors suffered their first loss of the season, going down 1-0 to the table toppers, Fawkner. They've got a tough game this week coming up against 2nd place Mill Park, and they will be travelling to the Partridge Street Reserve this Sunday, kicking off at 3 p.m. North Geelong doing not too bad. They've won one, they've lost one, and their one loss was against Fawkner, who are the top team at the moment. In locally, we've had already 2 games of the grading phase, and we'll take a look at the leaders of the men's grading the pools. There's 6 groups here, and these teams all at the moment have a 100% record. So in Pool 1, Group A, Barwon Soccer Club and Golden Plains are both leading the competition with 6 points. You've got Pool 1, Group B, Surf Coast and Armstrong United. They too have both recorded 2 wins from their opening 2 grading games. Group C has Bell Park. Group D has Barwon's 3rd team. Group E has Golden Plains' 3rd team. And Group F has Geelong Soccer Club's 3rd team as well. So we've got, how many is that? 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams at the moment enjoying a 100% win record in the men's competition. In the women's league, there are 3 pools or 3 groups, and at the moment we've got 6 teams that have recorded 2 wins from their opening 2 games. In Group A, Surf Coast and Golden Plains. In Group B, Deakin Ducks and Ocean Grove. And in Group C, Barwon and Bell Park. So that's a pretty good indicator of which teams we will be seeing playing in Division 1 of the men's and the Division 1 of the women's competition. Also, there's been a really big push at the moment from Football Victoria to respect the game and respect the people in it. No excuse for abuse. That's the motto. That's the catch cry at the moment. And last week, Football Victoria, through all of their various subsidiaries, if you like, including Football Victoria Geelong, but also clubs as well, are promoting this. There's a zero tolerance on behaviour, respecting the referees, and football should be a safe and positive experience for everyone involved, and that means respecting the referees, supporting players and keeping behaviour on the sidelines in check. There is no excuse for abuse at any level of the game. Football Victoria Spectator Code of Behaviour outlines the standards expected at all matches, including respecting match officials and their decisions, treating all participants with dignity, no verbal or physical abuse, no bullying, discrimination or harassment. We all play a role in creating the environment we want to be a part of. And just from personal experience, on the weekend, I was at Linesman, plucked out of the crowd for my son's game, and this is at VPL youth level. And it's amazing, like some of the players you expect, but it comes from the coaches as well. And if the coaches are a little bit over the top, and then particularly in a developmental environment, they should know better. But it's really funny. I think in that moment, a lot of coaches and a lot of players, they don't understand, I think, the offside rule. Quite simply, they don't understand the offside rule. And I think we need to go back to basics. Having said that, my observation as well is the referees also have a part to play. And when you see some referees blatantly on a power, whatever you want to call it, from the moment they kick off, they've got they're very hostile in their dealings with players, particularly junior players. And I think this is where Football Victoria also has got a role to play in educating the referees to create that positive environment. So it goes two ways, and I'd certainly love to hear what your observations are, either as parents or as coaches or as players or as officials. Do the referees do enough to provide a positive environment, or are they very militant? Are they very, very hostile? And do they come across when they try and explain their decision? They provide a little bit of a kind of a walk on eggshells type of environment. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. We're going to take a very, very short break, and when we return, it will be we're going to be talking about a topic that has been very, very relevant in recent months, recent years, and is going to become even more relevant, and that's the idea of a football or regional football facility for the Geelong area.
EcoDuct is a Geelong-based business which manufactures an environmentally friendly low-profile duct system that is specifically designed for high-rise apartment applications where limited ceiling spaces are common. The innovative duct system is used to exhaust kitchen and bathroom ventilation where there are limited ceiling spaces. The only Australian-made PVC duct supplier in the country, EcoDuct, has full control over its stock and has an unlimited supply to ensure all projects run smoothly. They are 30% cheaper than the imported products and are 100% Australian made. Made from best environmental practices, their products are made of up to 50% recycled material and is 100% recyclable and compliant to all Australian standards. For more information, call EcoDuct now on 03 5278 5573. That's 03 5278 5573, or visit their website at ecoduct.com.au. EcoDuct are proud sponsors of the North Geelong Warriors Football Club.
Yeah, welcome back to the Geelong Region Soccer Show podcast. It is episode 185. Now, on Saturday, in the Geelong Advertiser, there was an article, Grounds for Optimism, where Deputy Mayor welcomes imminent report on Soccer Hub. And it mentions there Councillor Eddie Contell, who has been a big friend of football in this region and has been a big friend of the show as well. It's saying a new Football Victoria report on a proposed regional soccer hub in Geelong's heartland is likely to be released in coming days. And that's the belief of City of Greater Geelong Deputy Mayor Eddie Contell. Contell said he welcomed the imminent release of the report, having been briefed on its findings and recommendation. He also said it was time for Football Victoria, Football Geelong and all levels of government to work together to deliver the project. The payoff for our community is extraordinary, and this is exactly the kind of legacy infrastructure a growing region like Geelong needs and deserves. Absolutely true. It is a topic that's very, very important, very, very relevant. And we're going to play a little bit of a clip from an interview with both Eddie Contell and Mike McKinstry, the chairman of Football Victoria Geelong. That was aired last year around about August, early August, but it's still very, very relevant. It's a topic that needs to keep on coming up. We need to keep it active. And with the state elections coming up next year, we know the state government is probably the main co-financier of a lot of these grants for sporting facilities. And how important was it to get Ella on board? And how, in your opinion, how did it go?
Yeah, no, look, I think it was a really, really positive meeting. And hats off to Eddie. We're not sort of blowing one another's trumpet here, but I think a lot of people in the community know this has been a topic that's been discussion for many years, and for various reasons, it sort of sometimes loses a little bit of momentum. And good on Eddie. Recently, between him and I and some others, we've tried to breathe some fresh energy into the focus on a regional facility. And then when we chapped on Ella's door, it was like an open door. Very much come in, talk to us, and she's very, very supportive. And I think it was a really, really positive meeting. We've still got a lot of things to do to plan for the future. But one of the things, for example, coming out of that Eddie will probably talk on is the potential now to catch up with Richard Marles, which is actually in the pipeline. So that's one of the things as well. So we talked to both state government and then talked to, as where appropriate, the federal government as well.
Yeah. Now, Eddie, early in the year when we spoke, we talked about how the city of Greater Geelong is quite on board with it, particularly councillors yourself and Councillor Anthony Aiken, who's up in the north. And the idea of, it's still obviously kind of more in the thought stage, but the idea is to have the regional facility up in the north and a sub-regional facility down in Armstrong Creek. Can you tell us a little bit more about kind of, for those who aren't aware of what is happening in the background, the reports that have been issued and all of that kind of stuff, give us a little bit of a kind of an update as to what we could expect in the next, say, 2 to 5 years with regards to football facilities in the Geelong area from the City of Greater Geelong perspective.
Yeah, sure. So since you spoke to us last, there's been a lot of work go on at various levels, council and also Football Geelong and Football Victoria. And what we did is we refreshed all the numbers and made sure that we had the correct data for where we are today. And so as such, Football Victoria, Football Geelong created the 2025 State of Play report, and then the City of Greater Geelong updated its Regional Sports Development report, which what that indicated is exactly what we thought, is that the numbers that we had going back to 2021 have well and truly been surpassed. And I think we mentioned it previously that, based on current population and participation, we're down about 30 pitches in Geelong. So that's really important to know. The other thing that was really important was the next steps. I mean, you might recall when we spoke on this show last, Tonchi, that the next steps were to create a business case so that we could then quantify where the site might be for a regional facility. And
yes, it's a topic that's been going on for years, and it is something that we need to keep relevant. We need to keep at the forefront of all of our conversations leading up to the state elections later this year. And if you're trapped in your little isolated enclave and thinking, well, how's this going to benefit me and how's it going to benefit my club? Trust me, a regional facility is going to have a huge flow-on effect for our sport. And what's good for our sport is ultimately good for our clubs and ultimately good for our players. Trust me on that one. We're going to take a very short break, folks. When we return, we're going to be talking to our very, very special guest tonight, Associate Professor Bronwyn Coate from RMIT University, who has recently headed a university study into adolescent girls and their participation in soccer and the impact on their well-being by being involved with the club. Don't go away. That's coming up after this short break.
What do we do at J Hill Books? For some clients, we process their payroll, accounts, and invoicing every week. For other clients, we check their data entry and reconcile their accounting software to their bank statement before lodging their quarterly BAS. We set up new accounting software files and train clients how to use them. We work with clients across varied industries, from hospitality to construction to disability support to professional services and tradies. As we have a team of bookkeepers, we can offer uninterrupted service to our clients. Our preferred method of bookkeeping is using Dext and Xero. J Hill Books is a Xero Gold partner and a registered BAS agent. One important message we would like to convey right now is that from July 1st, 2026, Payday Super is coming. This means all employers need to pay super on the same day they pay their wages. This will have a huge impact on cash flow for employers, and they need to start preparing for this now. Please get in touch if we can help you with this transition. Visit our website at www.jhillbooks.com.au or contact us on 0402 469
The Geelong Region Soccer Show podcast. Oh, folks, it's episode 9 of 2026 season. It's we're already whizzing through the year as it is, and lots happening both on and off the park. And quite recently, we had a new research with RMIT that basically developed a conclusion that football is more than just a sport. And girls in particular don't just find a team when they play football, they find their people. And new research with RMIT and a local club, North Geelong Warriors, is showing something pretty powerful, in fact. When girls feel a genuine sense of belonging in their team, everything changes. Confidence grows, friendship deepens, anxiety drops, it becomes more than training and game day, and it becomes a space where they feel supported, seen, and part of something bigger. We know that. We those people that are involved in sports certainly know that, but now it's actually becoming something that the academic world is really taking a keen interest in. And it's as I said, it's become the community side of things in particular is becoming a space where these young players feel supported. And how often, as a parent myself of kids doing sport, you often say, yep, you don't have a social life during the sporting season, and you're driving like a taxi from training to games and this and that, but you wouldn't have it any other way, because it's keeping the kids off the street, it's keeping them entertained, and it's keeping them occupied. Now, according to this study, one player put it best: my soccer family is always growing. And that's what community football is really building across Geelong right now. And not just better players, but stronger, more connected young people. Now, to tell us a little bit more about this particular study that was conducted by RMIT University and the outcomes that came from it, it's an absolute pleasure to welcome to the show tonight Bronwyn Coate, who joins us. Bronwyn, good evening and welcome to the Geelong Region Soccer Show podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Chauncey. It's great to be on your show. Thanks for inviting me, and hello, everyone.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. Now, Bronwyn, obviously you're a researcher at RMIT University, and I'm really intrigued by this. This came out, I guess, a couple of weeks ago, and it was promoted by Football Victoria Geelong on their social media, and we saw those little screenshots there. But tell us a little bit more about the program, Adolescent Girls' Participation in Soccer and the Impact on Wellbeing, and how it came about, essentially.
Yeah, thanks. It's a good question to start. So this project was funded by Vic Health as part of their Growing Healthy Communities scheme. And really what that scheme is all about is being on the front foot for advancing healthy, resilient communities. And they have various target populations that they're interested in, and adolescent girls is one of them, particularly given some of the alarming evidence around, growing eating disorders, sense of isolation and loneliness, even though, a lot of young people are on social media and that type of thing. So we designed a study to target adolescent girls and specifically look at the role that participating in a team sport like soccer has on their wellbeing. So With this study, we needed to partner, obviously, with the club, and we initially had a different club that we were working with, but they weren't able to get sufficient number of adolescent girls to field enough teams. And my son had recently...
That's really interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? But my son had recently moved over to North Geelong Warriors, and just through some conversations with them, they have a really strong girls and women's program, and like a dedicated committee to support girls and women's football, and they were really giving the signal that they were a supportive environment and very sort of willing and proactive in getting behind the study. So that's sort of how it came about.
And tell us, Bronwyn, what did the study effectively involve? What did the research component involve? I'm sure there was probably questionnaires that the girls had to fill out. Was there parental involvement? Was there coaches and officials, etc.? So how did that actually kind of get executed, so to speak?
Yeah, no, thanks. Another good question. So to actually conduct the research, we had multiple participants that we engaged with. So there was parents, first of all, that we needed to get their consent, because obviously the players being adolescent girls, we needed to have parental consent that we could, involve their girls. So it was really important getting the club on board to be behind the project, and then getting parents behind it also. So we started with a survey that was administered to parents, and it gave them a sense of what the project was about. We had information sessions as well. And so we had really good buy-in, through the club, through the parents, and then we were able to invite players who we obtained the parental consent for. And then with the players, we did another survey with them, and also we conducted in-depth interviews with 20 players as well. And then also we had a focus group that involved club officials, as well as some parents as well through that. So,
Sorry to cut you off.
No, not at all.
In the intro, I did mention how those of us who are involved in community sport, who have either coached in the past, or soccer parents, or sporting parents for that matter, know the value of having your kid involved in sport. And even though in this day and age it can become quite an expensive proposition, you wouldn't have it any other way, because that you're keeping the kids active, you're keeping the kids off the street, which here in Geelong is a big thing. But from a researcher's point of view, what were some of the findings that you found out that probably, you weren't expecting it?
Yeah, no, look, I mean, obviously we know that having young people, regardless if they're girls, boys, is a good thing for maintaining physical health. But there is increasing evidence that being involved in a team sport like soccer acts as a socially protective practice that can be good for building resilience and helping young people's mental well-being as well. So with this study, we were interested in looking, just establishing a base of evidence to say, yes, this is true. And we did that. But what we found really interesting was that aspects around team belongingness really amplified the wellbeing outcomes that we had. So for players who had a strong sense of connection to their team and a strong level of belonging, they were the ones that had the really the most profound impact in terms of these positive wellbeing outcomes. So the wellbeing outcomes that we looked at included peer relationships, meaning and purpose, life satisfaction, body image, and anxiety. So across these 5 measures, the players who had the strongest level of belongingness to their team also had the best outcomes across these measures. And that was something that we were able to prove with statistical significance. So it was a really powerful finding.
And you've got a connection with North Geelong as well, but not through any girls. It's in fact your son,
yes,
who's recently started playing there. Tell us your experiences with your son and his connection there. And as I guess soccer parents now new to the club, how have you found that? Let's talk about that sense of belonging as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So this is our second season now at North Geelong. And, certainly for us, it's been like a second family, which was a theme that came out from the interviews that we conducted with the girls talking about it that way. And I know very much for my son that he feels that way as well. So the club really does a great job with the coaches supporting, the players and the teams and just sort of building this sense of community that it's really so positive for the kids. They have new friends that they wouldn't otherwise have met and everything. So it's really good for that sense of community building and for parents as well. To get behind the team within this positive sort of environment, be cheering for other kids, not your own on the team and meeting new people again that you wouldn't necessarily meet otherwise, just with the shared purpose through the love of the beautiful game. It's really something special. So yeah.
Now we talked, Bronwyn, a lot about the positives. Were there any negatives? Did you come across any kind of negative conclusions or outcomes that sort of kind of things that could be improved on, or things that could, I guess, just make the whole experience even better than it is?
Yeah, I mean, in some of the interviews, some of the girls did sometimes experience, like, even though there overall was a benefit, for some of the girls, they occasionally felt some anxiety around their performance, which, not necessarily a good thing. But really the crucial thing in sort of mediating how that impacts is the messaging that they're getting from not just the coach, but also the parents as well. So I think parents need to sort of, really watch, how they're having conversations in the car ride home with kids, what they're saying, in cheering from, the sidelines and everything. So, as part of the sporting environment and the community, parents really need to sort of, watch the messaging that they're giving. So that was just, one thing that did come out that's potentially, a positive, but also can be a negative when that messaging is not quite right, and feeding some anxieties for players.
Now, I guess in Geelong, there's several clubs that you could say have a bit of an identity crisis, in the sense that as they start to get towards the more elite side of things, they're having to, it's very performance orientated, it's very competitive, they're trying to be the best that they possibly can. But at the same time, within that club structure, they then struggle to kind of maybe cater for the recreational kids, the kids that are not there for the performance side of things. They just want to be there for the participation side of things. And I think there's been a couple of clubs around Geelong who have had a difficulty in trying to kind of cater for both. And I guess the smaller the club, the harder it is. But I guess a big club like North Geelong has components of both. Does that affect that performance anxiety with a lot of the girls? They're wanting to have fun and they're wanting to enjoy, but then there's other girls in that team who are, looking at state representation or playing in the seniors. How did that kind of, was that a factor that kind of had some sort of an effect on some of the participants of the study?
Yeah, look, it's probably fair to say that the players in the interviews that mentioned the sense of anxiety, were more from the CPL teams rather than the community teams. But still, I think the girls are up for the competition too. Though. A sense of mastery is something that is really meaningful for them, and very satisfying in terms of their higher order needs of I'm getting good at this, I'm on track, I'm capable, and that's a positive thing that we want to be encouraging in girls as well. So I don't think it's it's either fun or it's super competitive and going for the best. It can be both.
It can be a
But
fusion sort of, yeah.
the messaging is what's really important, and keeping things fun and, ensuring that players feel respected. So, when there's, improvement in performance, that is recognised, even though, like a player might not necessarily be, the star on the team.
Yep.
It's important.
It's a fascinating subject, adolescent girls' participation in soccer and the impact on well-being, a study that has been recently conducted by RMIT University. And we're speaking with the head researcher, Associate Professor Bronwyn Coate. One of the things I love when I'm interviewing coaches of women's teams, and we had earlier this year, we spoke to Jake Butler from Geelong Galaxy, so I guess the highest ranked senior women's team here in Geelong. And look, one question I love asking is, a lot of these coaches, particularly male coaches of women's teams, do you approach coaching women's teams differently to that you do men's teams? And most of them do say you do. You have to approach it in a different way. Girls are a lot more emotional. They listen, whereas the boys generally don't. They think they know it all. But also, you have to really explain a lot of your decision, not justify, but explain it. And there is that emotional element behind it. So that's the coaching aspect of it. As a club, so can clubs approach the way they deal with female football as opposed to, say, male football? Was that maybe something that was explored in the study? And is that maybe now, have we got a lesson there for other clubs to follow as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not a, one size fits all. There are, differences between the girls and the boys, and then even, like across different age groups as well. The needs, they don't necessarily remain static. But like it's clear that at North Geelong they're doing a lot of, good things to support, players, and that's sort of, feeding through in terms of their retention as well, which is, I think, a big issue, and maybe, helps explain, why we had to move to have a different partner to what we initially had envisaged with the project. And yes, like I echo the sentiment that, like girls teams, they need sort of, like more time for, the social aspects and, like understanding.
Team bonding, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And it's just a difference that exists. But like it's not to say it's better or worse. It's just
And look, my daughter plays basketball, and whereas my son plays football, and it's almost like a completely different environment. And you notice with the girls when they click as a group, and this is in basketball, I guess smaller teams and whatnot, they perform better.
Yeah.
And I think from what I've seen as well with soccer, for example, when the girls feel like a family, like a unit, and my own experience coaching senior women's was unreal. Like the girls on the bench were cheering and part of the team more so than the blokes. The blokes, there's a little bit of envy that they're not on the field sometimes.
Yeah.
And I want to get on the field. When can I get on the field? Coach, when am I going? And there was, you notice that difference in the dynamics, particularly kind of, as you say, that the family unit. So I guess if there's one good thing, or not one good thing, one certain outcome of this study is that clubs can really provide even more of a social experience for the girls. I guess even the boys, but particularly the girls. And if they're doing a great job now, do an even better job, and you're going to get an even better outcome, I suppose.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, it's sometimes things like, having the club dinners after training. I know that one of the teams that we looked at, they have, like a playlist, that the players, contribute to, and, it's music to, hype up before the games and during, during some of the drills, and, the girls just sort of, collaborating and sharing their music and stuff that way. Again, it's sort of, like a way of, sort of bonding and extending some of that, broader sense of community that comes through playing football together.
Well, like I said, it's a fascinating topic, a fascinating study, and will this be made, I guess, available to anyone either at North Geelong or the wider football community? Because did you say it was sponsored by or funded by Vic Health? Are the findings going to be made public or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. With Vic Health and this particular scheme, they just take the report, but there are some community impact case studies that are out. RMIT's recently released one, and Vic Health is soon going to have an impact case study of this that they feature on their website under the Growing Healthy Communities program. And I will also say that we are hoping to put in another grant application that will expand and build on this, that we would like to work with more teams within the Geelong region. So
Yep,
to make it a bigger and better study. So going from, growing healthy communities to an impact scheme, because I think, the benefits and lessons from this are really significant. And I think, for clubs that operate with limited resources, sharing and learning about what best practice to get, benefits for young people is really important.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely fantastic. You hear about this stuff, and I think we need more of it. That's for sure.
Yeah,
We definitely need more of it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Bronwyn, thank you so much for joining us here on the Geelong Region Soccer Show. It's been an absolute pleasure. Certainly, well, thank you for getting involved in a program such as this, and really, really illustrating the positive benefits of young ladies being involved with a sporting club. In this case, North Geelong Warriors as well. And like I said, we hopefully this kind of stuff really gets to all the politicians and the media out there who just probably underestimate the power of our sport, football, and its benefit to the community.
Agree. Yeah. No, thank you very much for having me on the show.
Good on you.
Great.
Bronwyn Coate, head researcher at Yes, and we just heard from Bronwyn Coate, the Associate Professor at RMIT University, who is the head researcher of that very, very interesting study. Folks, that brings us to the end of tonight's episode 185. We look forward to having your company again next Monday night at 8 p.m. In the meantime, get out and about, enjoy local football, go get to a game or two this weekend. There's a lot of interesting games coming up around the region. Until next week, good night from me. Bye-bye.